New York City suffers a rampant, not-so-silent crime wave as followers of a long-forgotten criminal ninja clan/military operation known as the Foot appear to be in full resurgence. With the police doing nothing, probably, it seems that four mutant heroes, who live below in the sewers, trained by their wise sensei, are the only ones who can stop them. Caught in the middle is a plucky news reporter, hot on the next big break in the case, and her faithful doofus of a cameraman, who aid the capable but fairly green, in more ways than one, mutant heroes. The battle over New York wages, and it becomes clear that the war goes back much further and is much more personal in origin than they could have expected. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, dudes! The 2014 edition, and the latest big screen incarnation of the beloved characters. After months, and maybe even years at this point, of script and story and character speculations, and fears from Turtles fans, young and old, that this wouldn't live up to the expectations, it has finally been released. Michael Bay produced this film. He did not direct it. Some other guy directed it. But as you may have been hearing from other reviews, Michael Bay may as well have directed it. Because it pretty much just feels like any other Michael Bay movie, and depending on your tastes, that alone may be a very bad indication in and of itself. But here's a pleasant surprise from this updated version. Megan Fox playing April O'Neil. When news of her casting was announced, you could practically hear the collected groans of fans all over the internet claiming it to be a huge mistake to put her in the role. Maybe an unwarranted concern now. Listen, okay, Megan Fox, I'll admit it, she isn't going to win an Academy Award for her acting anytime soon. But she's a capable actress, especially if she's actually given something to do other than date Shia LaBeouf. And not to mention, she is, of course, insanely gorgeous, which isn't besides the point, and I think it is, for better or worse, relevant to this character. This is a modern take on April O'Neil. The character is a reporter for a large news station, and let's face it, journalistic integrity is a second to ratings. And if you want to be behind that news camera, you practically have to be a supermodel. And Megan Fox certainly fits the bill for that. And in sort of an indirect way, that's even acknowledged here. Like, kind of the starting point of the plot is that April is sick of reporting fluff, or as her cameraman Vernon, played by Will Arnett, calls it, froth. She wants a legitimate news story. She wants something important to report. Some of the best scenes in the movie, actually, are the ones between Fox and Arnett. And in that opening scene, where they're kind of bantering back and forth a little bit, with April panning for a real news story and something with substance, and with Vernon arguing the merits of froth, and how sometimes people just want something innocuous. They want eye candy. They want something disposable. It's almost like it's an argument for the movie's own existence. And you could make that argument. You'd have to be on Vernon's side, though. To the movie's credit, April O'Neil has a lot more to do than to be a damsel in distress. And Fox herself is able to ascend, even if it's just a little bit, from mere eye candy status. The story is arguably from her point of view. She's involved in many of the action scenes. In fact, she's involved in almost all of them, actually. And she has some good and funny moments, like when everyone around her is starting to think that she's absolutely crazy and ranting about giant turtles that are also ninjas, as well as mutants and teenagers. This is probably Fox's meatiest role since Jennifer's Body, and she gets the job done here. Much like with Judith Hoag in the 1990 film, and Paige Turco and its sequels, here Fox is our human anchor into a completely ridiculous concept, and she fares well in keeping our perspective as the audience grounded. And there's no real break in the illusion of a movie that integrates live action with elaborate and overabundant computer-generated imagery. I didn't stop to think that Fox was talking to a guy in a goofy green suit, or even into thin air or anything like that. That speaks well to Fox, and to the special effects team who brought the Ninja Turtles to life. With April's importance, being heightened in this movie. Certain liberties are taken with the Turtles' origin story, and I could understand if it may rub people the wrong way. In the typical bullet point sense of things, it is the same. But in this version, April plays an integral part in how the Turtles came to be. We learn that April's father was a scientist who worked with a businessman named Eric Sachs, played by William Fichtner, in developing an advanced mutagen designed to heal disease. By subjecting a rat, as well as 4 turtles named by April, Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, to a mysterious ooze from space or something. This was called Project Renaissance. They were named after Renaissance artists. Get it? So, as a child, April would often visit this highly secret lab with a camcorder, no less, and interact with these potentially dangerous test subjects, like they're her pets. And yes, she feeds them pizza from time to time, so she's responsible for that fixation as well. Things go awry. April's father learns that Sax wants to use these turtles' genetics for evil. He tries to destroy all evidence of their research, starts a fire. He's killed, and April, I guess present for this, too, grabs the turtles and the rat and throws them in the sewer. So for the next 15 years, they grow into the mutants we all know. It's unclear if Splinter had a ninja master for an owner, or came from Japan, or even, as in some other versions, was a human. But here, I think he's just supposed to be a lab rat. And in the sewer, he finds a book on ninjutsu. He trains himself, the art of the ninja, then of course trains the turtles in the same style. He's still their sensei, still their father figure. It's the same general story, but quite obviously this movie has the same kind of problems with many movies like this. And the problem is in presenting a simple story in an unnecessarily complicated way, in the hopes that if they shove enough plot down our throats, we will gain some sustenance from it. This is not so. The modern-day story picks up where the past left off, and Sax, under the control of the Shredder, find out the Turtles have survived, thanks to April no less, and plan to capture them so that they can extract their DNA and create an antidote to a terrible virus and profit from it somehow. For Sax, it's all about the money. For Shredder, we can assume it's more about power. So it's not the stupidest evil plot in the world. We've seen it before in one form or another. But I guess it's a little more insidious than stealing TV sets and snatching purses, so there's that. And for all the unneeded notes in the origin story, at least the Turtles aren't aliens, as originally suspected and possibly originally written, so there's that too. But what of the Turtles themselves? How do the pizza-gobbling, wisecracking heroes in a half-shell stack up in this update? Well, I'm a little iffy about it. The designs aren't the best. Like, they're going for something different, and I appreciate that. But they're almost too grotesque. Splinter, too. I saw it in 3D, and every time there was a close-up of Splinter, I thought I was going to catch a disease. And I wasn't crazy about Tony Shalhoub doing the voice either. But anyway, personality-wise, they're the same, I guess. Leonardo, the leader, of course, he's pretty good. He is voiced by Johnny Knoxville in this one. Yet again, they do highlight the tension between him and Raphael, who is the hot-headed rebel of the group. The movie is actually very, very Raphael-heavy. He's the only one, arguably, who really gets any kind of character arc, but hey, what else is new, right? There's Donatello, the nerdy one. He has glasses. He knows how to science. He's actually kind of annoying, so he wasn't that great. Michelangelo, usually my favorite, I would say is disserviced here. It's a very hit-or-miss kind of deal with his gags, so his humor got to be a little irritating too. Like, they had to do a fart joke in this movie. They had to, really. And the sexually repressed attitude he displays towards April is disturbing. It felt inappropriate. it was a little too much. As a group, their dynamic is good. I think the movie establishes well enough that, yes, they're still teenagers, they're vulnerable and inexperienced. Uh, they have big challenges ahead of them, but their brotherhood prevails. Story-wise and character-wise, there are faults. That enough is true. But not so much that it would completely break the movie. What does unfortunately break the movie is its direction and execution, especially in the action scenes. The action scenes are the typical style that you'd see in just about any Michael Bay movie, and to me that is a bad, bad thing. There's actually one scene that truly amazed me, left me in complete awe, and that's the scene where the four turtles are on the elevator, on their way up to stop the Shredder, and they start beatboxing and using their weapons as instruments, and it's supposed to be a funny tension breaker, and it is, but the thing that amazed me so much is that it occurred to me that this must have been the first time in the entire movie where the camera didn't fucking move all over the place. I'm sincerely tired of that nauseating and assaulting style of digitally dynamic camera movements, of the shakiness for absolutely no reason, tilted angles for a comic booky effect, and the completely random slow motion shots. Like, really, does one shot where one of the turtles dodges a blade or something really need to be highlighted over the 20 other shots where one of the turtles dodges a blade or something? This is hackneyed, unskilled, undisciplined action, and it caters to those deficit of any kind of attention. And it devalues us as viewers, and has a very low opinion of the audience, because apparently there's some kind of belief in Hollywood that if the camera shot lasts more than 30 seconds, we'll get bored and walk out of the theater. The action in this movie is garbage. There's literally nothing memorable about any of the action here. It all just zooms by like a blur. There's nothing to grasp onto. Even if these kinds of movies make hundreds of millions of dollars, which of course they do, I refuse to believe audiences, especially the young children targeted to see it, have attention spans so short that they need constant stimulation like this. Name any of the Marvel movies, for example. They make a lot of money too, obviously, but at least their action scenes are coherent. I have absolutely no tolerance for action this sloppy, and action aside, even in just scenes of dialogue, the camera simply doesn't stop. It's enough to get motion sickness. Stuff like this ruins movies, and I honestly believe that if the story, such as it is, were exactly the same, cast was the same, special effects were the same, and if it were under different direction, I think if they toned down the flamboyancy with the camera movement, just a little bit, they could have actually had a decent movie here. I really believe that, I do. I mean, look how good the effects are here. The CGI with the turtles doesn't look horribly fake or anything. It's actually very convincing. And you feel like the character, or the director, doesn't have enough faith in these effects, and constantly has to divert our attention. The direction here is seriously, seriously off. And I never thought I'd say this, but I think even someone like Roland Emmerich could have done a better job. Yeah. What we're left with here is a film that is dizzying, incoherent, feels like a fever dream for the most part. Maybe that's what they're going for? I don't know. People are lining up for the movie, throwing down their cash, and I guess that's fine. The Turtle legacy lives on, and I guess that's cool. But I can't see myself wanting to check out the inevitable sequel unless they make some serious changes to the execution. But I doubt they will. I guess this stuff sells. What bugs me, though, is that it could have been better. It could have been worse, too. It definitely could have been worse. But it could have been a movie that I would have found myself enjoying if it weren't for the shaky cam bullshit, the overcomplications of the story as well, and the good amount of humor that falls flat. Megan Fox was good. I liked her. And she was the best thing about the movie, so take that however you like. Will Arnett was also really good, and I was surprised at how big his role was in the movie. Actually, he's actually a crucial character, and I wasn't expecting that. William Fichtner was great. A great villain in playing sax. This is the kind of role he can do in his sleep. As number two to the over the top Shredder, who is basically like a video game final boss, Fichtner brings personality. He's charming, he's funny, he's deliciously evil, even if he was poorly motivated. I thought he was great. There's things to like. Good voice acting from the Turtles. There are some funny one-liners that do work. Whoopi Goldberg, some sections of the action scenes do work. The standoff between Shredder and the Splinter is surprisingly brutal. Kare is pretty cool. The CGI is convincing for the most part. And if nothing else, this keeps Gwen Stefani in royalty checks for a while because they feature Hollaback Girl on the soundtrack. We love you, Gwen. We're pulling for you. Also, the song at the very end is a clever choice considering the artists. So there's some thought to it here and there. And in broad strokes, it's somewhat true to the spirit of the Ninja Turtles adventure. It's just that the many, many, many problems are hard to ignore. Ultimately, this is a bad movie. It's not the worst movie of all time. And of course, you're going to be hearing a lot of people trashing it a lot worse than I'm willing to. And if you'll get stupid, you obviously will get stupid, complaints, accusations of people's childhoods being sexually assaulted, which is just ridiculous. Please don't listen to those people. Everyone's childhood will remain unaffected. You will hear the nostalgia arguments, which obviously, were the fond memories of the older Ninja Turtles movies, and they will influence the opinions on this one. It's fair to make that argument. It's something that I personally I wanted to be aware of going into this. I wanted to confront that. I struggled quite a bit with just that in my review of the 1990 film. So if you haven't watched that, please check that out. But I'm not a firm believer of the whole "this is just meant for kids" and "you're not a kid" kind of argument. One could argue, and they'd probably be right, that many kids will just eat this movie up, while older audiences might not. And I think there is a distinct and drastic difference between movies you liked as a kid, and only as a kid, and movies you liked as a kid and still can enjoy as an adult. Kids seeing this movie in 2014 may like it today, but will they enjoy it 10, 15 years down the road? I'm not sure they would. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Whether they should is up for debate. But nostalgia isn't some brick wall in your mind and heart that can't be taken down. I make no assumptions on this. I have first-hand experience in revisiting the original Turtles movies, which, aside from the very first one, weren't that good. A bad movie, aimed at kids or not, is still a bad movie. Froth can be tasty, sure, but you'll find it's mostly air, mostly empty, and has little to offer. It's disposable, it's unsatisfying, and it's hard to justify. I rate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1.5 stars out of 4. Even the high-quality special effects and good performances from likable actors are unfortunately not enough to save the movie from the muddled plot and poor execution. If this is a movie made just for kids, then it's from a filmmaking team who thinks very little of their audience. And that's my review of the Michael Bay 2014 version of the Ninja Turtles. Not too good of a movie, unfortunately. Whether you bring your nostalgia into it or not. Michael Bay obviously doesn't make that good of movies, so there's that to consider. I think it's better than any of the Transformers movies, for what it's worth, if that's worth anything at all. But obviously, it's dominating the box office. People are seeing it, so hopefully people are liking it. I think people who like Transformers may like this movie. And probably, kids will like it, but it's unfortunately not too good. I didn't care for it. I'm curious, though. I'm trying to check out reviews now. reading reviews, watching reviews on YouTube. So let me know what you think below. I'm curious to see what the opinion is on this one. From what I'm gathering, it's not too positive, which is disappointing but not surprising. But yeah, let me know what you think below. As always, comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on social media. Derek237.tumblr.com. Hi, this is Derek, Twitter. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to my channel for more.